Yes. So Terry Fontenot joined Mike Florio of Pro Football Network this week. They had an interesting conversation, of course. Everything always comes back to Bijan Robinson, so no
Yes, of
different in this
course.
conversation. And
You're
Terry
like a lawyer
described
right
him,
now.
yes, indeed,
Just my
indeed.
say my case.
Yes.
State my
Terry
case.
Fontenot described him as a playmaker more so than a running back. So it really made me harken back to a guy who you can say kind of revolutionized it in that space, and that's a Marshall Faulk. So I really said to myself,
Yes.
you
So
know,
amazing.
I'm looking at Bijan Robinson and we're kind of seeing some things on social media as far as his workouts go, if you will. And it's very interesting because he's working out with wide receivers right now. Interesting, right? So
Hmm.
if considering that, can he be maybe that Marshall Faulk in the making if indeed the Falcons, Arthur Smith and Dave Ragone are able to effectively use him or kind of use him in the right way?
Oh, it's gonna have to be. That's why you brought him in. That's why you take a running back that had a running back that has been taken in the top 10 since 2018. Saquon Barkley, yeah, and Saquon Barkley is that type of guy, right? They throw him the rock, they hand it off to him, like they just figure out ways to get him the ball, and I think that Arthur Smith is going to do that, and he's the perfect guy that I feel that can get that job done. Like I've talked about it, you know, plenty of times before, T, and I'm going to continue to talk about it. As long as Arthur Smith is the head coach and play caller of this team, he's going to put his guys in situations to succeed. And I feel like that's going to be pretty easy for Bijan Robinson. Now, I know people are saying like, dang, Jarvis, you all on board, ain't you? Like, I have no choice because
Yeah,
this is who they
yeah.
picked. You know what I'm saying? Because I understand from a football standpoint, just from a play calling, upgrading your offense, getting all the weapons that can help Desmond Ritter succeed. Yeah, I get all that, but I think right now you got to understand that this has to work. And I feel like that's why Terry Fontenot is coming to question. That's why I called him a lawyer to start this segment. Like, hey, man, this dude be out here defending this case. He's pleading this case. Say, hey, man, like this dude is more than just a running back because we know that people devalue that position. So
Yeah.
I think that, just from a football standpoint, as we get closer and closer to getting the pads on, you guys will understand and see, what Bijan Robinson is going to be able to bring to the table and what Arthur Smith is going to possibly use. Now, Arthur Smith is the type of guy, well, he don't like people putting this stuff out there, so you probably won't see exactly what he's got in store in the preseason, but you're definitely going to get a good dosage of what's going down, and we'll find out who the first victim going to be, here pretty soon when the schedule drops. So it's going to be something interesting to keep an eye on. But yeah, they have to use him in a Marshall Faulk like manner because if he's not close to that, then I question the pick, like I did when they did it live last week.
Yeah, and really, Bijan Robinson understands the assignment of making himself as versatile and effective out of the gates as possible
Right.
because he's not just training with any old guy, right? He's training with the
That
offensive rookie
dude.
of the year in Jamar Chase. So when you're going to go out
Yes.
there and make yourself an effective receiver, that's the kind of guy you want to see him with, someone who's been effective, who's been successful on the field, also has the work ethic to prove it as well, and of course has an appearance in the Super Bowl. So those are the kinds of things where you also look at Bijan Robinson and say, hey, he sees what a winning mindset and what a winning work ethic and what winning productivity looks like, and he's mirroring that as well. Now, speaking of a team that's hoping that they are on the winning side of it, as opposed to what the Falcons chose to do in terms of initially shoring up the trenches, is the Titans. So Peter Skoronski, who of course was their 11th pick or the 11th overall pick in the draft, the Titans pick in the first round. He told Dan Pompei of The Athletic in an interview this week that Arthur Smith essentially wasn't impressed with him. And here's what he said, quote, Arthur Smith said, you're really boring me right now. Your answers are so boring. So Skoronski said the whole meeting, he kept looking at his computer, meaning Art Smith. I was kind of laughing to myself and saying, sorry, I don't know what you want me to do. I'm answering you honestly. So I said, Jarvis, for me, that's a very interesting comment from Skoronski because I always say, my favorite players to interview and talk to are going to be O linemen because they're
Yeah.
so cerebral. But we
Yeah.
also know Arthur Smith is cerebral. And that very well might be the main reason that interview that wasn't so impressive might be the main reason the Falcons actually said, you know what? No, thanks. We're going to move on and get ourselves another offensive lineman. We appreciate you, Skoronski, but we're going to go ahead and kind of look at that guy. Oh, Matt Bergeron. little more impressive.
Yeah. We'll
More of that
trade up for him in the
IQ that
second
we
round.
like to look for our O linemen. But I thought that was interesting.
T, like, this is so funny to me. Like, I would pay to hear that,
Me too.
because you know what I mean. Because my whole thing is like, I understand. I feel like I understand Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith and I have a very good understanding of each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, we ain't got to talk that much. You know, when we interact, it's pretty cordial. You know what I'm saying? He'll take a couple shots at me from time to time, but try to test me. But I throw a little shot back. My preparation back. So, but for the most part, though, I think that this is funny, because when you think about how guys prepare so much for these interviews, and he even said himself he was giving generic answers. So it's just like, dude, just be yourself. At the end of the day, you either gonna get, or they gonna like you, or they're not gonna like you. Because guess what? If you probably would have been yourself, and the tape matched up with the person, because Skoronski, from what I've seen, the guy's aggressive. Like to get down there and mix it up a little bit, and he's a guy that you would like to have in a bar fight when he's about to get ready to go down. So if that's, and he's in the doggone meeting room saying, yes, I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak with you today. And if you're sounding like that, that's bull crap. Like, be yourself. And I think that's probably why the Falcons passed on him, because Arthur Smith like, man, come on, man, you boring the crap out of me right now.
Yeah.
Give me something real. Like, tell me who you are. Like, I understand that your agent paid for you, to people to come in and work with you and know how to answer questions and all that, but scrap all that, man. Be who you are. And because everybody that has come in from, whether it be free agency or the draft, their interactions have been the same when it comes to Terry Fontenot, Arthur Smith, and it's been very consistent. Hey, these guys are real. I feel at home, or they're saying how they just really appreciate those guys being straightforward and honest. And that's probably what Arthur Smith was wanting from Peter Skoronski.
Yeah. And hey, Peter Skoronski has to read the room. Now, obviously, he read the room very well with Mike Vrabel. He said that he vibed with him when he met with him previously. So that was a good look. He still landed in a solid place. I mean, the Titans
can't go wrong in Tennessee. Yeah,
exactly. So he's still in a fine place. But I do think it is important that you read the room, because if you had read the room, basically from Arthur Smith's first question, you would have known how intellectually intense he is, how intellectually astute he is. And you would have said to yourself, you know what? I'm going to have to kind of step up my game so that I can impress this guy, if indeed this was a team that you were hoping might select you. So it's very interesting to hear. And I'm thinking to myself, wow. Now, for me, Skoronski was never the pick. I was never one who was on that kind of train, if you will. You know me. I was looking Steve Avila, just hoping
all
against
about
hope
the D. Yes.
Guy. But I'm not mad at Matt Bergeron as well. But my point being that with Skoronski, I was fine with that, because we already know when we speak to the likes of a Chris Lindstrom, or formerly with an Elijah Wilkerson, those guys, they may not communicate necessarily in the Arthur Smith style, but they certainly think the way that Arthur Smith does. So yeah, he's going to always look for that guy who is intellectual, who's seen the game in so many larger ways, not just the microcosmic, but just seeing the game in the bigger picture, and is able to communicate how he sees that game. So once again, we see that Arthur Smith, he saw what he needed to see to say, hey, thanks, but no thanks. Whereas as we just gave the example, looking at a guy like Bijan Robinson, totally the opposite, because if you heard an interview from him, or if you heard what we just said about his approach to his pre-2023 season, that's impressive. That tells you that he is a thinking man about this game. And if you guys are thinkers about what we do here on ATL Day Ones, which we think you do because you give us great comments in the comments section on YouTube, and you guys will DM us from time to time as well. We appreciate you everydayers. Keep it coming. Check us out on YouTube. Give us your comments. If they are just outstanding, we're going to mention them, right? Same thing if you DM us on Twitter, or even if you follow us on IG and you share or drop a note to us. We appreciate you guys for that. And it seems like you guys are telling your friends as well, because we're seeing more and more new viewers and new listeners. So don't forget as well, you can go wherever you download your podcast, and that's where ATL Day Ones will be.